We'll get on here and make sure everybody can hear us. Usually the first couple people on here let us know they can hear us, Dan. That's Dan Gunner right there from Thermal Addiction. I met Dan at IP Pine Hill Mill. Me and him got to shooting the bull about some fishing, and he started talking about hog hunting, and I told him I was going to try to get him on here and discuss how he dispatches a bunch of hogs, and we'll let him go into that once a few people get in here. How you doing this evening, Dan?
Man, I'm good. Just trying to beat this heat. It's getting hotter.
It is, man. It's supposed to be, the humidity's supposed to be down the next couple of days, and we were discussing before the show, it's going to be hot this weekend. So I think while I'm thinking about it, I think Maddie's got a tournament this weekend, her bass tournament at Bridgeport Landing. It is, yes, July the 13th. I think the weigh-in's at 1 o'clock. So like I said, it's going to be hot, guys. I mean, everybody has trouble keeping those fish alive. Y'all be safe. Make sure you have a lot of water, a lot of Gatorade. So that was the only tournament I know going on. So, Dan, let's kind of get into how you got into hog hunting. I know you said you've always hunted your whole life and fished. Just talk to me how you talk about the background. Your dad was trapping. Kind of tell everybody, a little bit about you and how you got into it.
Well, I grew up down here in the country, and, we had moved to North Alabama about 6 years ago. Just took a job up there with West Rock, and so I got to fishing up there on the river. And that's how I actually got into crappie fishing. I bass fished all my life, but I was born and raised here we call it the River Swamp down here, and
right.
So we got the opportunity to come back, and we did. We bought my grandparents' house place. We moved in here, and my granddad, he absolutely loved the hog trapping. When he got to be about 60 years old, he started hog trapping. Now, he was probably the best outdoorsman I've known to this day. He could do anything. I watched him catch a whole covey of quail, and we can get into all that at another time. But anyway, he trapped a bunch of hogs, and I never really had a passion about hogs then. I went and helped him just because as he got older, he trapped till he was probably 75, 78 years old, and then cancer just started getting him where he couldn't go.
Right.
But when we moved back, my cousin had a thermal scope, and we had some hogs down here in my deer field, just rooted it up. And I said, man, let me borrow that thermal scope you got. And I want to go down there and shoot these hogs one night. And so I had a trail camera down there and put some corn in front of it, and I knew when they were there. And I went down there and killed them. I was like, man, that is a lot of fun. So I got to looking at, wives don't like you to spend a whole lot of money on hunting and everything. And I didn't know whether I would really have a passion for it. So I wanted to be as economical as possible. So I found a ATN scope, and it was their lowest resolution when they had. It was factory refurbished with a 3-year warranty, delivered to my house for $700.
It's not bad.
Man, it wasn't bad. And I bought an AR and put it on it. And we went down there, and man, I started shooting these hogs, and then the passion grew. So I got me a little better scope, and then I upgraded one more time to one I'm using now. And, I've got buddies that I've hunted with that's got the pulsars, and people with the infrarays and all that. And, I said in one of my videos, well, I didn't say it, I just posted there, why in the world would you spend $10,000 on a scope? Now, to each his own. If you got that money to spend, man, I'm all for it. Buy whatever.
Right. I agree.
For me, trying to be economical as possible, you go to my page, Thermal Addiction.
That's right. His Facebook page, guys, is
right.
Thermal Addictions there. He's trying to grow it. He hadn't had it going but a few weeks, right?
That's right. I think we're in about the third week of it, and I'm just trying to post some videos and get some interest in that, because my ultimate goal is, I've been talking with AGM. That's a different manufacturer. You may have heard of AGM Rattler is a big name in the thermal scopes, but they're more economical. And I want to get into selling those. I got some other products I've been buying, and I want to grow this page enough before I really start trying to offer some of that stuff, because I need people to tell their friends and friends and friends. Word of mouth is the most powerful tool out there for marketing.
That's exactly right. And you're a genuine person. You got a passion for it. So it's just going to take some time. But I've been watching his videos. You can see right here. I should have blew this picture up before we put it in here. But, I guess hogs, Dan, they let their guard down a little bit, and they move a lot at night. So that's why you take advantage of this, right?
They do. But the one thing you absolutely got to do is use the wind to your advantage. If they can't do anything else, they can smell. And I had one big hog I had been trying to kill, and he only came out when there was a south wind. It just happened to be that way. I don't think he only fed in the south wind, but he only came to that spot in the south wind. And there
Gotcha.
was no way for me to get downwind of him. And I mean, upwind of him where, I mean, downwind, that's right, downwind where he wouldn't smell me. It was always blowing out of the south, and I had to come in from the south. And I guarantee you, he would smell me 300 yards away and be gone.
That's crazy.
I just wouldn't shoot at him that far. I can hit him that far, but I wanted to slip in there like I do with most of them. I like to get about 70 yards from them.
Right. You know? That way you dispatch the animal. I mean, I've seen some of your shots on your Facebook page. It's not like you can't do it, but first of all, while we got these people tuned in, how many hogs did you tell me you had dispatched?
Since February, since deer season went out, I've killed 207 right now.
That's a lot of hogs, man.
And right now here lately, as it's gotten hot, I'm killing them one or two at a time. I hadn't had like earlier in the year when it was cooler. I killed 14 one night, just me. And
I seen a video. You killed 8 in, I think 7 or 8.
8 in that bunch, and I killed 6 in another bunch.
That's pretty proficient. I mean, these people that don't realize what hogs do to land, they don't realize. I've been to my buddy's place, and he planted during bow season, and I went there, and I thought they had to redo their fields, and it was that tilled up from them rooting. It was unbelievable.
I had a farmer have me go down on the river. He's got cotton farm and or cotton field down on the riverbank, and it's real sandy ground there. And I guarantee you, it was at least 20 inches, at least minimum, of how deep the rooting was out there. And you can't drive a tractor through that. It'll bounce you all over the place, knock you out.
Well, they do. Texas, they have hella hunting. They hunt them out of helicopters. They do millions and millions of dollars worth of crop damage. And people, I don't know if the numbers, you have some numbers you can discuss with everybody, but they've always told me that you had to kill 7 out of 10 to control the population, not to get rid of them, to just keep it at a minimum,
Absolutely. Yeah, I was kind of doing a little bit of math, and this is just
this is interesting, guys. Y'all listen up there. This is crazy.
So you think about one pig, one sow will have 2 litters a year. And out of those litters, they can breed and have a litter at 6 months old. So let's look at that. One pig has 2 litters a year with, they say 3 to 8. There have been litters with 13, 14 in them. So let's just call it 5. She has 2 litters of 5. Okay. So she has a litter of 5, and at 6 months, all 5 of those have litters of 5. That's 5 more pigs. And then, 6 months later, she had this other litter over here. So we won't get into the year of that side. So really just this side. This first litter has 25 plus the first 5, that's 30. And then 5 out of the other pig that she had 6 months later. So that's 35 pigs from one pig. Now that's being conservative now. That's 35 pigs from one pig in a year's time. Now, well, let's just throw the other one all the way out. Let's just say 30. Let's say these 5 in this first litter were all female. The 5 in the other litter were all male. So we'll stick with it. So we got 30 pigs out from this one pig in a year's time. All right, but that's one pig. You think of 10 pigs, that's 300 pigs on a piece of property in a year. And so that's why they spread out so much and land can't handle them. You take 100 pigs, that's 3,000 pigs in 1 year's time if you killed nothing. So your 207 pigs you killed, I mean, potentially, Lord, how many thousand would that be? I mean, just, on the numbers wise. But the ones that I don't kill, they're still reproducing.
Yeah, and there's mortality rate, like you said, but people don't realize a hog can eat about anything. I mean, it's unbelievable.
They eat clover. I kill them in these clover fields. I'll try to put corn out there. What I like to do when I'm hunting them, I try to find a big field that they're hitting and try to bait them into the center of that field.
Yeah, tell everybody why we're sitting here talking about what you. His video's on there, guys, on Thermal Addiction Facebook page, on Dan's page. But you were explaining to me how you mix the Kool-Aid in the barrels and try to get everybody, because believe it or not, there's a lot of people that will let you hog hunt their place,
Absolutely.
all summer long, So
well, I had a place that I grew up hunting down here, hunted for 45 years, and the land sold, and boy, I hit rock bottom. I was like, man, I was heartbroken. I didn't have the money to buy it. I mean, you're talking about 1,000 acres of land
Yes,
at
sir.
$1,000 an acre. I mean, that's more money than a paper mill maker works. I mean, paper worker makes. And
Yes, sir.
so anyway, I was just kind of a little bit heartbroken. Well, it didn't take long, man. I mean, within 2 or 3 weeks, hey, this guy called. Hey, man, can you come over here and hunt? Hey, I got these farms. Can you come hunt these? And I
Right.
probably 6, 7, 8,000 acres I can hunt right now. It doesn't cost me a dime. I don't ask them for a penny. I even put my own corn out there because I love it so much that
Right.
it gives me the opportunity to do what I want to do, and I'm helping them out too. So yeah,
Yes, sir.
there's pigs everywhere, but yeah, people will absolutely let you hunt it. But the way I like to bait them, because they got such a good sense of smell, what I found, black cherry Kool-Aid has about the strongest smell, and it's a sweet smell. So I take 4 packets of black cherry Kool-Aid, put in a 5-gallon bucket, and 4 packets in another bucket. And then I'll fill it about a third of the way full of water. And you want to put the water in there first instead of the corn. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But you put those buckets a third of the way full with the cherry Kool-Aid, and then dump half sack of corn in one bucket and the other half in the other bucket. That's what it'll take for a whole 50-pound sack. And you want it to be submerged in there. I first started out putting the corn in the bucket, the Kool-Aid on top of it, putting the water. Well, all the flavor just goes to the bottom, and the top half of the corn don't get the flavor. So if you'll mix it in the water first, it'll saturate that flavor from top to bottom.
Okay.
And it won't take but overnight. It'll swell up in that corn. You don't have to let it sour. It's got the smell in there. And one thing I would do in some areas, I'd take me a little burlap sack and I'd put a double handful, this much corn in that burlap sack and hang it in a tree so the wind could blow through that and get that smell all out through the
Gotcha.
They will find it in a heartbeat. And then once they get to coming there, you don't even really have to worry with the Kool-Aid anymore. You can just put corn out there. But one of the other things that another guy told me about, I started doing, I took plastic barrels and drilled about 1-inch holes in it. Not a bunch. I drilled probably a dozen holes, maybe 18 at the very most holes in that drum. And I got a cable that goes to it, to one of these dog anchors, that you anchor your dog out.
The little auger, yes, sir. The little auger, yes.
Put in the ground with about maybe 10 foot of cable on it and a swivel so it won't twist up. And you put that barrel out there where they've been feeding at, and they'll roll that thing around. And it'll conserve you a bunch of corn. Now, I don't like to put over a sack of corn in the barrel because if they quit using it, you don't want to have to pick up 300 pounds in a barrel to try to move it somewhere else. You just got to. There. But they'll roll it around, and there's a video on there of a hog rolling a barrel around. And what drop a few kernels out here and a few there, and he'll stop and he'll eat that, and then he'll roll it some more. And so it's a best way to keep them in an area. And then you can put your video camera out or your trail camera out there, and you know when they're there, and you go there, and when they're there, man, you shoot them. It's a lot of fun. But there's a lot of places they're just going to be there anyway. Did you drop off there, or did I just?
I don't know what happened there. We had a little glitch, but hey, we're back. So.
Okay. So the barrel's just a good way to keep them coming to an area, and you don't have to go in there. Because I could go put out 3 sacks of corn in one spot that I know pigs are at, they'll eat every bit of it tonight. You can take that 1 sack of corn in that barrel, and it'll last 2 weeks. So it's just a way that you don't have to go and rebait, and it don't break the bank. It's just, and you can buy these barrels. You can get on Facebook Marketplace. There's plenty of folks selling plastic barrels for $10, $15, $20.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's good information because that way it doesn't cost an arm and leg to get out there because nothing's cheap. Corn's not cheap, especially when they're not harvesting it yet around here. So,
and it's something, like I said, I want what my ultimate goal is to grow this page enough to have enough followers that I can start offering some of these products. And I'm going to
right. Well, you get to and like you said, befriend some of these people and get them into the sport of it. Show them, just like us fishing. We started a crappie cast just to keep people from making mistakes and wasting money on getting the right stuff they wanted. Then they, turn around and buying the wrong stuff, then have to sell it and lose money and buying something else. That's why, it's good to ask questions like message you and say, hey, what kind of setup do I need, as far as money and stuff like that, getting into it. So
but I'm going to have a video coming up here pretty soon where I'm going to put some of the low end scopes to a little bit higher end scope. You can see the difference. That $700 scope I bought, like I said, it was factory refurbished, had a 3-year warranty, so I wasn't scared of buying it,
No, sir.
And you can see a heat signature 600 or 700 yards out there. Now you can't tell what it is, but if it's pigs in the area, well, hey, no sense just walking 600 or 700 yards down here if nothing's there. But when you get within about 200 yards, you can start telling what it is. And when you get within 100 yards, it's clear as day what it is. So you don't have to buy a $10,000 scope to get into hog hunting. You know, I bought like my 223 that you see me talk about shooting.
Yeah, you started shooting it a lot here lately. So I know you said you go with a 308. You started shooting that 223 a lot. So
yeah, and I'm back to my 308 now, but I wanted to prove a point. A lot of people say 223 is not big enough. Well, yes, it is. If you'll shoot that thing and get it dialed in. Now, I sight my guns in at 70 yards because that's where I like to try to shoot from them. And that way, if I'm aiming at their eye, I want to hit them in the eye, not the ear. So, you know, 70 yards is what I always sighted in at. But that 223, I bought it from Bear Creek Arsenal, $387 to my house. You know, and I reload, so I know the beauty of reloading because we used to be in competition shooting. So I can build a load that's going to shoot just about any gun. So I'm shooting 3 shots at 70 yards that you can cover with a dime with a $387 gun. I'm not buying.
Man, hold on now. That's.
You know, so you do that, and then you put a $700 scope on it. You do the math. I mean, $1,200, you're in the hog hunt.
That's pretty strong. I mean, that's you know, if you got access to hogs, or you know, or especially if you got them on your property, or you know somebody, like you said, it's not like deer hunting. People's kind of protective over the deer, but them hogs, they are not protective over. I promise you. So
because they'll run your deer off. You watch.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I've got a video I'll have to post sometime. There's some deer on my corn pile before I started using the barrel, and this hog comes out and they leave, and they do it every time. They
don't want to be around that because they make so much racket, it makes them nervous. You know, I've got a buddy that he coyote hunts at night and kills a lot of them with the same kind of equipment you're talking about. So,
and we've been shooting coyotes too when we see them.
Oh yeah,
I've called a few in just with my mouth because I didn't have a caller with me. Right now would probably be a good time to be shooting coyotes just because it's so hot. And you know the hogs, you know, you would think hot as it is, they would be all out at night. Well, the ones that are out at night right now are 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to hunt them on work.
Yes, I know I see a lot of your videos. They're 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm sure you know.
Yeah. So as it gotten later, but now right now I have them on camera at 10 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and
crazy.
Believe they're out there in that heat like that. But you know, most of them I'm killing are soaking wet with mud all over them. They laying in a water.
Oh yeah, they're wallowing in the mud. You know, they don't have to worry about snakes. They don't have to worry about none of that stuff. You know, they're eating them and everything else. So.
And that's what I said on one of my videos too. The only good thing about a hog is that they eat snakes. Other than that, they're absolutely a useless creature out here. They do nothing but destroy land. I mean, looks like you ran a turning plow out through there. And, you know,
they do. And then you step in a hole and like you said, they ruin farm equipment, they ruin crops. Alan's asking right now, are those wild hogs good to eat as crappie? We were talking about this before the show. Tell them your best hog to eat if you shot it in the wild. I mean, just, you know, without trapping it and feeding it and all that stuff. Just tell them, you know.
Probably about an 80 to 100 pound sow.
That's what somebody told me.
Sow. But now, you know, as far as being effective, and I hate to even say this, but, you know, probably the best way to get rid of hogs on your property and the most efficient way is trapping them with like one of these pig brigs.
I've seen them, those pig brigs, right?
Yeah, it's just not. It's not as fun as what I'm doing, you know.
No. Anytime you get to dispatch them, you know, the way you're doing and get to kind of stalk up on them, that's fun. The anticipation, the adrenaline rush, you know, I get it.
But where I was going with that, as far as eating one, if you just took you a small trap where you could trap you one hog, and you feed that hog out for about 2 weeks on corn. I was telling you this earlier. My granddaddy used to be big into trapping. He would feed them out on corn for 2 weeks and clean all the crap that they've been eating out of their system.
Yes.
Tell you, they're better than a domestic hog to me. They really.
I've ate some smoked, you know, some butts off of one. I guess it was 100 pounds or so. You know, somebody told me that they were good. People make all kinds of stuff out of them, but you know, you try to. I guess you get your fair share of them, but since they're just a nuisance, I mean, you're really just dispatching them, getting rid of them. So
that's what we're doing with the buzzard. I tell you what, it's unbelievable to me that. In about 4 days, you see a skull, and maybe the backbone may still be there. But
it's crazy how efficient them buzzards are, aren't they?
Man, I don't know if there's other things eating. I need to put.
There's hawks. There's all kinds of crows, everything else eating off of those things.
Pigs too, you know, because a pig will eat anything. So I really put a trail camera on one of those, and let's just see what all eats it up, and makes it gone. I mean,
that'd be interesting to pile you up 3 or 4. You're exactly right. I tell you, I'm gonna have to get together. I told you I'm gonna come down there and stay with you. Come visit the mill or something, and we'll go fishing, and then we'll go fishing, then ease out there after we get through fishing and see. I'd like to see that live.
Yeah, you need to come shoot some of. I'll tell you another little funny story. So I got my nephew. He's from Alabama, but they moved to Louisiana, and he's full blown Cajun now. He thinks he's
yes, sir.
else, and I guess he's 26 now. They moved down there when he's about 5 or 6. So he loves all that food and everything. He called me one day. He said, "Uncle Dan, you ought to have a 55-gallon drum of jerky by now." I said, "Son, I ain't cleaning these stinking hogs." I said, "You can have all you want, but at 11 o'clock on a work night, it's just
no. I understand. Yeah, you're right.
Just about every night. I'm gonna go tonight. I got a guy that's got some eating. Well, the big hog I posted that I killed here on July the 4th.
Yeah, tell everybody. I didn't tell everybody how much that hog weighed. It's a wild hog now.
353 pounds. Now, when somebody tells you they kill a 300-pound hog, you better put it on scales, because when I first started doing this, I thought, man, that's a 300-pound hog weighed at 180 pounds. So they will fool.
Yes.
And killed a big one night. Oh, I mean, he was big. He's got to be 300 pounds. He was 250 something pounds, and 255, I believe he was.
So he weighed 353, and he had all his equipment, so that nobody removed his stuff. Nobody trapped him, so he
353 pounds, and he was huge. Now, and the way I had to load him, somebody said, "Well, how'd you load that thing?" I said, "These old men are tough now. You just." But the reality is, I pulled my winch cable out on my Ranger, ran it over the roof of the Ranger, tilted the bed up, and tied to him and winched him up in the bed across the roof of the Ranger.
There you go. Hey.
But yeah, he was a big one. There's a picture on there. There's a video of it.
Yeah, it's thermal addiction, guys. I've invited a lot of people. He's got about 400 followers right now. We need to get his page ramped up, guys, for sure. That way, I don't know anybody personally. I got some buddies that hog hunt with dogs, excuse me, but I don't know anybody thermal hunting. Dan's really the first person that I met doing that. So if you're interested in checking it out, so
there's some people out there doing it, but I'll tell you, you really, get with somebody that's got a thermal. If you don't, go with them. I'll tell you, if you're a hunter and you enjoy hunting, it just lengthens your season, man, and it's so much fun. I mean,
oh yeah, Harvey. I seen Harvey down there at Mike's down there when we ate lunch the other day. Harvey carried me out, but we seen a hog. I shot at one in some high stuff late one night, but of course it was hot, man. We were standing in briars and everything else. I wasn't too into it too much.
Well, I tell you, the fun to me is to get them in the groups where you get to shoot.
Right. Well, right.
But now another thing is the safety side of it. You've got to be careful. You don't want too many people.
No, sir.
And I had an incident here a while back. It was 3 of us hunting, and so we're standing 3 side by side. They're out in front of us. So I'm on the right-hand end, and some pigs run around my end, and I'm turning that way shooting, and I hear boom real loud in my ear, and I turn, and there's barrel right beside my head.
Oh, yeah, you can't get somebody.
And, you get caught up in the moment, and it can happen. So really, 2 people shooting is about the safest way, unless you folks that have hunted together for years.
Yes, sir.
Communicate, like me, if I needed to have done that, I would have picked up my tripod and moved my whole setup up and got to where you wouldn't be there. But you're looking in a TV screen for all practical purposes.
That's what people don't realize. I'll share this picture. That's what you're looking at. You don't
have any depth perception through that thing or anything. You just you got to basically know the field and how far they are and all that. But and that light, that bright light of the screen is in your eye. So, it does mess you up when you first take your head away from it. It took me a little while to get used to it, because I would look with my scope, and then I'd let it down and go walking a little further, and I'd be my equilibrium be a little bit messed up because of that bright light in one eye. My other eye is still dilated with darkness, So, but really, it is the safety thing, and y'all be careful with this.
Yeah, you're right, because you can't see that person, till it's too late, And it's kind of like quail hunting. You just don't want to swing that way. So
that's right. You need to set barriers. Once you get to 45 degrees here, you stop.
Yes, sir. I agree with you.
You need to talk about it ahead of time. Anybody goes with me, from now on, we have that safety talk before we go. But
are you running a suppressor on your gun?
I just recently put one on my gun. I'm not.
I talked to somebody in the middle of the day when I was talking to Travis and them, and they've gotten a little bit better at issuing tax.
It took me 3 days. Now, I didn't do the trust because say, okay, Shane Jones can take my suppressor. I named him on the trust, and
that's right. I heard about that.
keep it for 10 years if you want to. Mine is just individual. So you can shoot it as long as you're there with me and I'm
Yes,
supervising
sir. Yes, sir.
there with it. And I don't have any intentions of sending mine off with anybody anyway. And it took me 3 days to get it back versus 9 months for a.
Right. They've gotten a little better at that. They were talking about that, and that's the way it should be. They ought to treat it just like a gun. They do a background check, get it to you. So I'm glad that's gotten better.
One of the reasons that they started making this legal was because of hearing conservation. Now, mine with a suppressor on it still sounds like a 22 long rifle at the quietest, because I'm still shooting supersonic rounds, so the bullet's still breaking the sound barrier. You just don't have that big boom so much right there at your head. And I loaded me some subsonic rounds yesterday, matter of fact, but I'm gonna have to have a different buffer spring because it won't eject them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
it still won't eject them out of that automatic gun. So, but I hear people talk about, the suppressed bullets, when they hit the hog, it makes so much noise anyway, they're going to run anyway. So I like having a faster bullet to catch up with them and not have to lead them 2 miles just to try to hit them while they're running.
Yes, sir. Because you get one that's moving 700-800 feet per second. It ain't.
Well, and the other thing is what mine does is kill the noise enough that the pigs in 100 acres away or 20 acres away, you're not running them off. Whereas
right.
You didn't have that. So that's the reason I got it. Quieter on my ears because I'm not wearing earplugs while I'm hunting.
I think it's better for kids too, Dan, because, like my nephew, he's scared of the gun noise more than the gun's kick or anything. That, because these shorter rifles we've got, 20-inch barrels, they're loud and, it doesn't bother me, but, the noise, they built way better rifles now as far as, and pads and everything else. But the noise, so that helps that too.
I'll give you my 2 cents on suppressors too. I had one guy say, "Oh, you got to get the titanium. It's like holding an empty water bottle." So I went there and I held the titanium in my hand and I held the one I bought in my hand, and it's got some stainless, some titanium, something else, and I think it was 5 ounces difference in their weight and $400 in the price. So I said, I can tote it. I'm a pretty big boy. I can tote the extra 5 ounces for $400, saving $400. So I didn't buy the titanium. To each his own on that too. But, put them in your hand and weigh them. Don't just go by what people say. Make your own.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
I bought a multi-caliber that's good for 223 up to a 300 Ultra Mag. So I run that same suppressor on my 223. I unscrew it and I put it on my 308.
Man, that's good. I'll have to get with you because that's what I'd like to have. So I'm scared to go with you because I know what's going to happen, Dan. When I go, I know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I know exactly what's going to happen. Well, I'm going to fish during the day and hunt hogs at night. I'll be burning the candle at both ends.
My wife, she said, "How do you even go? How do you rest?" And I said, I can rest when I die. Right now, I'm having too much fun."
Hey, that's good, man. That's why I wanted to get you on here because, a lot of people don't know. But again, guys, Thermal Addiction Facebook page. I've invited several of y'all. He's right there. He works right there at IP Pine Hill right there. And, he's right there around Camden where, I try to put a spotlight on that area, the Black Belt. We call it the Black Belt there. And it's Monroeville, Camden, Clark County, Thomasville, Pennington, all down there. Just, that's why I kind of started this show because there's really no one kind of, going to be able to emphasize or put a spotlight on the hunting and the fishing. A lot of people think of Miller's Ferry, they think of crappie fishing and all that stuff, and there's such good hunting around there and a lot of good people, and that's why I told everybody I wanted to kind of fan out or spread out on this show and start talking about different stuff, like you coming on talking about hog hunting, and gonna get some people getting ready for dove season and deer hunting, and just kind of managing deer. We'll try to get into it without going down a bunch of rabbit holes, but I appreciate you coming on here.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate the invite. Yeah, I appreciate anybody that looks at that. And like I said, I want to help people get into this as economically as possible because some people got plenty of money to spend. Some people want to hunt so bad they just on a tight budget. And
that's right.
Help people be able to get into it and enjoy the sport all year long.
Nothing wrong with that, man. So, well, I guess I'll go into a little bit of, there's not really much to talk about crappie fishing wise. I went to Eufaula, caught a few crappie. The fish have moved. They're getting them a little more aggravating. Neil and I went and fished Lake Talcon and found a bunch of fish, guys. And they believe it or not, I had to get over the top of these crappie. And this is, y'all are probably not going to believe this. This is exactly what happens. Those fish are schooled up real tight. And I'll snap my jig, and one will move out of the way, Dan, and scare, and the other one thinks he's eating something, so the other one eats it. And I watched it happen on the screen, and I've been snapping my jig for years over these fish, just trying to get them to move. And I figured out if I get in there right over the top of those fish, and those fish are sitting right here, and I'll snap that jig, and when it falls back, one will move, he'll dart, and the other one think he's eating something, he'll eat it. Now, you're not going to catch all of them, but that's a little trick that I watched.
Live scope has changed the game, hasn't it?
It has. I was talking to somebody at Safford Trading Company yesterday, a couple that watches the show and everything, and we were talking about, I said, you have to get out there and fish when you can. Of course, it's hot, but if you go out there and consistently find you some fish, some crappie right now, you'll catch some. Hey, and then go get out of the heat. If you're not doing anything, just go out there and mark spots. Just don't sit out there and be miserable. It's hard. Like I told her, you catch 20 crappie this time of year, you're doing pretty good.
Well, the thing about the live scope to me, I haven't bought one yet. I've been wanting one, but I had a guy tell me one time, that's cheating. I said, well, I'm all about cheating when it comes to things. Most of us that are weekend anglers, you just eliminate so much useless water with that thing. And I sat in the boat with this boy that had one time, and we're looking at crappie, and they're not biting. Just because you got scope don't mean you're going to catch every fish in the lake.
Oh, no. I've seen thousands this weekend, and we, caught 30 or 25. It's just but what I had to do, I had to take this is a hand tie right here. This is not the jig, but this is a little bitty jig. I tied a 32nd below. I don't think I got one over there. I'll show everybody the rig. I got one over here laying here somewhere. Let's see. Here it is. I had to take the reason why I go down to a 32nd on those fish because I don't know if I can get this untangled or what, but I've got a split shot right there at number 7. Y'all can see that little bitty jig. It's little. And the reason why I use that 32nd because if a fish comes up and it barely does that little nip job, it's going to get that jig in its face. So it doesn't take near as much effort. When they suck water in to bite it, that 32nd will go on in the roof of their mouth and you can get them. So,
well, let me ask you about this, Shane, because I'm not nowhere near as accomplished a crappie fisherman as you are. I only did it for 3 years, but
yes, sir.
Using the Bobby Garland jigs, and
yes,
I 32nd ounce myself, even just fishing just that jig, because I felt like it fell slower.
Right.
It fell slower, and then when I pop it a little bit, it just kind of fluttered there and real slowly sink down, and it seemed to work better. I tried the 16th ounce. I said, boy, that's crazy when you say 16th ounce is too heavy,
well, you keep what you're doing. You're back in the day before live scope, Dan, it kept that 32nd stays in the strike zone longer. It floats over the fish. But I'm trying to get this untangled where I can show y'all this rig. But that's a number 7 split shot. And that's what I use a lot this time of year. I'll slide it down some. Y'all can see the split shot and the jig right there. That is a deadly thing to use this time of year. But now you get to see the schools, how they're reacting to your bait. And you can tell color-wise, you can tell shape-wise. I got some buddies, Shiloh and John and them, they'll take those dead minnows and say this is a bare hook, and they'll run those dead minnows on there just like a jig body. And they'll squeeze it, make sure that thing's, smelling real good, and they'll jig it in front of a crappie. And a lot of those fish are hit too. That's what we were talking about. Don't throw those dead minnows away. You can fish with them, just treat them just like a jig. So,
well, what was crazy to me, like I said, up at Gunnersville fishing, we would put some corks out there with minnows on it and put a cork out there with a jig bite. And a lot of times they would bite that jig on a cork 10-1 over that live minnow, which was just unbelievable to me.
Well, I've seen them sit there and stare at minnows, guys. That minnow drop down there and it's doing this, and that fish just sit there and stare at it. Something about it. This time of year they feed, but you've got to make them react to your bait. That's the thing. That's a secret to making these fish bite. Like I said, a lot of people throw. I'll treat this bottle cap like a fish. That bottle cap's a crappie. A lot of people throw, and we say this. I throw this last during crappie cast, and they'll reel their jig by them, and that fish will chase, and then they go back. So a lot of people move their jig before the fish is even in this, actually recognizes the bait. So you gotta, if you can slow it down or stall it out and let that fish kind of look up at it till he makes his move and then take it away from him. But if you're just throwing really by, you're just kind of going through the motions. That reactive, that predator instinct of those crappie never kick in. But if you slow that thing down, if you get it here and you jig it and he looks, I'm not saying you're going to catch every one of them, but it will up your chances of catching those fish. That stuff I picked up on here lately. I've done it all the time, and a guy was like, "Hey, man, you're catching more fish than me. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Hell, let's just look and see what I'm doing," because I'm doing it, subconsciously without thinking. And he actually made me slow down, and I showed him what I was doing. And like me and Neil this weekend, I changed some settings where he was losing his jig, and I changed some settings on there where we could see a little better. Because what happened to me, I would get my jig and I'd move a little bit, and he would lose his. So it was real hard to stay on it. So finally got the settings where he could do it, and he finally caught the cadence and the way he needed to snap his jig, and he started catching fish. So that's just finding that pattern for the day. It's kind of, there's more science to it than just pointing a live scope at them and start catching them. I promise you. So, for sure. But like I said, man, we're not going to keep everybody on here. Everybody's got to go to church. I appreciate Dan coming on here talking about hog hunting tonight with thermals. Appreciate you, Dan. I'll see you tomorrow for sure.
Sounds good. Looking forward to that crappie dip.
Yeah, we're going. I got some crappie dip made. I was going to share that with everybody. I've shared it on. I need to share it on this page right there. That is blackened crappie, cream cheese, jalapeno, and onions, and it is delicious. I'm telling you right now, it is. It's different. If you like tuna dip, it is another way to enjoy crappie. Neil made some this weekend. We watched a video with some on it, and me, him, and Ashley, we ate it, and I made some, had a little bit yesterday. Scott and them tried, and I'm bringing some dip. We're gonna fry some fish for tomorrow. So, but Dan, you stay on here after the show, buddy. We'll finish talking. But
okay,
it's gonna be hot this weekend, guys. If you got any questions, you can message me. But if you're interested in hog hunting with at night with thermal, hey, message Dan, and please follow his page, Thermal Addiction. Like I said, I sent some more invites out. I try to invite all the followers that follow me. I appreciate everybody down in that way and down that way of Camden and Pine Hill and everything. But I appreciate you being on here, Dan. And,
well, I appreciate it, and that's one thing. I'll share any information I have.
Dan, just like me, guys. He wants people to get out there and enjoy it and be efficient and save some money. But appreciate everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday live. Stay on here, Dan. Appreciate y'all.